I'm your host, Grayson Brulte. Welcome to another episode of SAE Tomorrow Today, a show about emerging technology and trends in mobility with leaders and innovators to make it all happen. On today's episode, we're absolutely honored to be joined by SAE Media Group's Chitra Sethi and Sikorsky's Heather Cummings. We'll meet the program founder and one of the 2024 winners of the Rising Star Awards. They'll share what it means for women to lead, inspire, and be recognized in engineering. We hope you enjoy this episode. Ladies, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
It's great to have both of you here. Chitra, you did a wonderful job creating the Rising Star Awards. They're having a really positive, meaningful impact on society. And Heather, you're one of the recent recipients. Before we get into what you won, Heather, Chitra, why was the Rising Awards created?
Thanks, Grayson, and happy to be here. And hi, Heather. So in a world where engineering shapes our society, women engineers are still fighting for visibility in the field. Since the early 1980s, the number of women in engineering has barely moved, especially in, traditional disciplines like aerospace, automotive, mechanical, and manufacturing. Yet, despite the odds, women engineers continue to lead and inspire. That's why SAE Media Group launched the Rising Star Awards in May 2024 last year to shine a spotlight on the trailblazing women who are not just breaking barriers, but also bridging the gap for the next generation. These are the women who are redefining what's possible and proving that excellence knows no gender. So in its inaugural year, last year, the Rising Star Awards program received over 200 nominations from across the globe. We were blown away by all the entries and the individual stories of women breaking barriers and proving that they have a key role to play in shaping the future of engineering and technology. I also want to add that a Rising Star Awards program, it isn't just about recognition, it's about representation. It's about showing young women that they belong in engineering, that their ideas matter, and that success is within reach because, when we celebrate these rising stars, we light the way for countless others to follow. That was our goal.
Do you view it as inspirational? I ask that because I'm a dad of a daughter and we do all sorts of fun engineering things at home. And so she has access to, just very similar to Heather has access to, her parents were pilots. My daughter has access to engineering and all the latest tools. Do you view the Rising Stars Award as an inspirational tool to help inspire young ladies that might want to explore a career in engineering?
Absolutely. We want more women in STEM. And, this is a platform for us to showcase what engineering is cool. And, there are opportunities for women, for young women, for all age groups of women. And there is a lot to learn and explore. So it has an inspiration. It's definitely also a goal to inspire other young women engineers and young girls to pursue engineering.
Yeah, and engineering's cool. I love my daughter to be an engineer because there's no limits to what you can build as long as you have an imagination. Heather, you won the Women in Engineering Aerospace Award last year. Congratulations. That's super, super cool. What does that award mean to you?
Yeah, so I first want to start by saying that I'm very honored to have been the recipient of the Women in Engineering Rising Star Award, especially in its inaugural year. For me, I feel like it's really validating of all the hard work that's been put in over the years to push into these spaces that are typically dominated by men and that originally didn't really feel very open to me. In fact, when I was very early in my college career, I had a professor who told me that I should consider a different field. So to now be excelling in aerospace engineering and be the recipient of this award, it feels like I'm moving in the right direction. And one of my goals is very much to inspire one of the next generations of engineers, especially women engineers. So this is a big piece of that to me.
I'm a dad and I could say some not nice words, but this is a public broadcast, so I won't say those not nice words, except that it wasn't very nice. But you'll get the revenge because you're a senior flight controls and autonomy engineer. You're building the future of flight, which Sikorsky is investing heavily into, your parent Lockheed Martin. Autonomy. So the engineering's changing. You're going from predominantly hardware to software hardware mix, then probably eventually all software. How are you approaching the ins and outs of engineering? Because it's so rapidly changing.
Yeah, it is very rapidly changing. And like many engineers, I love problem solving. I would say that's probably a core of every engineer out there. And specifically in innovations, where our end goal is usually new products, I like to think about the design process like finding your way through a maze. The current state of our technology is the entrance to the maze. All of the customer requirements and constraints are the walls and the roadblocks that you face. And the finish line is the new technology or product that solves the problems of our ever-changing world. So as you run into these roadblocks and find constraints in your design, it's okay to have to backtrack a little so that you can make progress again. And that's part of the process.
Chitra, is problem solving, is that one of the key skills that you look for as the members come together to vote and eventually give the award to an individual?
Yes, problem solving is one of them. And as Heather mentioned, that's kind of like the core skill all engineers have, men or women. Our awards generally have basic criteria for entry that are provided on the website too. But essentially in a nominee, we're looking for a woman under 45 with an engineering degree who is a leader, a problem solver, and a team player. But more importantly, she should be a role model to her colleagues and have a passion and personality to inspire others. So a nominee would have all those basic criteria, and a winner would be somebody who meets those criteria and specifically stands out in 4 areas: leadership, teamwork, impact on society, which is another important engineering kind of skill here, and inspiration for other women. And as I mentioned earlier, the entries we received in our first year of the program were each so compelling and inspiring in their own way, touching all those important aspects of engineering. It was very hard to pick winners, but we had an esteemed panel of judges who evaluated and selected, and ultimately Heather's nomination stood out from the rest in the aerospace and defense category and earned her the recognition.
How did the individuals that were nominated or the individuals that nominated the nominees, how do they find out about the Rising Star Awards? How did you build that awareness?
So we have a website, awards website, that's www.techbriefs.com/RSA. And you'll hear me repeating that multiple times, but that was it's kind of the home where the nomination form is, where, the criteria and the interest. But last year, for example, we reached out through our publications, our websites, through social media, SAE's channels, and word of mouth. I cannot say more about that, other people were promoting it and spreading the word. I think that got us the most entries.
As a Rising Star Awards winner, how do you use that as inspiration to help inspire other young women who might want to go into engineering or move into a different field of engineering? How do you use that from an inspirational standpoint?
Like I said, we have our website, right? We are showcasing our past winners now in the Hall of Stars, which is there. And then we are featuring their stories. Heather was featured in our Tech Briefs magazine, Aerospace Defense Technology magazine, and all the winners. So their stories were shared. I think by seeing other women, women engineers doing something cool and interesting and winning accolades for it, I think that's inspirational. Also, all the winners were, asked their kind of background, they're asked to share their experience. And I think by learning from others, I think that is inspiration. When you see people like you, other, star engineers like you, then that inspires you to do, push the boundaries and try to reach for the stars.
Heather, how does it inspire you? Because both of your parents are engineers. You're a pilot. And if you can think about this, it seems like it was a long time ago. It was only 120 years ago when the Wright brothers first took flight at Kitty Hawk. I was at the Smithsonian a couple of weeks ago in DC, and you look at the aircraft because it's preserved there. Like, we went from this to the jet age in 120 years. Like, wow. Okay. If you bottle that inspiration together, where do you see the evolution of flight going over the next 120 years? Because putting that in mind, that was literally cloth, wood, and a little bit of a motor, not very safe to where we are today, going transcontinental and all around the world.
So in the shorter term first, or slightly shorter term, I would say, as we've seen in the auto industry, I think we're going to start seeing more and more electric aircraft rather than combustion engines, especially as battery technology continues to improve. But in the longer term, like we're talking about the jet age, then the autonomy age, I think like with ground transport, where we started with huge steam trains being the real people movers, and over that, transport has become more localized and personalized down to smaller vehicles like buses and cars. I think the aerospace industry currently feels like it's at the train stage with commercial jet transport. I think we're going to start seeing more and more personalization and localization of air traffic, especially as we have an increase in autonomous systems, both from a safety perspective and an ease of use perspective, and an increase in vertical takeoff and landing technology or VTOL technology, which will open up the use of aircraft in more urban environments where there isn't really the space to have sprawling runways and airports.
We're at the train stage. The geek in me says, oh, please bring back those beautiful Art Deco trains and somehow make them to aviation, because the design was beautiful. We could all see it today in the Empire State Building. eVTOLs are taking off. The market is growing. And you're right. It's going to be that sub 150, 200 mile range. Maybe say if you look from San Jose to San Francisco or various other routes there. With that in mind, and with this evolution that you clearly described, how do you see the process of becoming a pilot changing? Since I'm not a pilot, but I'm assuming the controls are going to change.
Yeah, that's actually a great question. So I don't see the current scheme of becoming an initial pilot, so reaching your private pilot's license, changing much in the near term, but definitely as more autonomy is introduced, I think that the view of a cockpit is entirely going to change. Like, we've been seeing a lot more glass cockpits coming even to smaller aircraft, like typical trainer aircraft, like Cherokees and Piper Archers. And I think that trend is going to continue to more, I would say, electronically based controls and more augmentation systems to assist with the various aspects of flight, from takeoff, cruise, all the way through landing.
And that comes down to engineering. And there's a lot of individuals, not just engineers, but in society, they have an outsized impact on society, but they're shy. No, please, not me. Please, not me. How do you help get them over that hump? Because they're having such a positive impact on society. And frankly, they deserve the recognition for the impact that they're having on society.
That's a thoughtful observation, Grayson. I agree. Engineers shape the society in profound ways, and yet the greatest engineers often work quietly. They shun the spotlight. And I've had the opportunity to meet many in my career as a science and technology writer, editor, and I also have a few in my family too. I think that's sometimes due to the personality or perhaps even the nature of engineering work itself. Many engineers tend to be more introverted. Again, that's my opinion, having met so many, and they prefer to focus on problem solving rather than self-promotion. It might also be that technical professionals often aren't encouraged to communicate their work in accessible ways. So I think that's another reason why, engineering publications, societies, why awards program like ours, they give young women engineers a platform to showcase their work and provide an understanding of how they can be, successful and talk about the great work they're doing for the society.
Heather, you're at Sikorsky. What was the reception of the reaction when your teammates and your colleagues found out? All right, she did it. She won. Did you get a party with cake, or what was the reaction?
See, it's funny because the reception is always wonderful whenever someone wins an award. So definitely hearing the perspective of sort of not wanting to put yourself sort of self-promote for these awards, you still get a very warm reception from everyone around you. Everyone is always very excited when someone in the group wins an award. And they always highlight award winners in like all hands meetings, including with the vice president and general manager of Sikorsky. They highlight there were award winners. So it's always a bit of a big presentation of the people that win these awards of, hey, look at all this great work that we're doing.
Outside of the work where you work in your environment, Heather, it's collaborative. There's a lot of teams working on, you have a team working on landing gear, takeoff, you have a team working on software, probably have a team working on plating for the landing gear. How do all these teams come together to make an aircraft fly?
So at the risk of sounding a little cliche, it takes a village to raise an aircraft. There is no individual group that really makes an aircraft come together and fly. Airframe alone doesn't make an aircraft. Flight controls alone doesn't make an aircraft. And especially as we're getting more and more autonomy and computing, we require even more cross-functional collaboration because they're getting more complex and there's more interaction with the individual systems. So it can be harder to debug and harder to identify exactly and pinpoint exactly where an issue is occurring. So everyone has to be working together all the time because it could be that one group implemented something new that interacts differently with a new group's subsystem. And so categorizing how all of that is going to work together is a huge effort.
So that raises the point, the way that we move goods is changing. There's new technologies being developed. And looking at this from a rising star perspective, how many categories are there today? And do you see adding more as new technologies emerge and eventually are commercialized?
Sure. So this year's awards program essentially features 6 categories, including aerospace defense, automotive transportation, electronics, manufacturing materials, medical, and number 6, robotics, automation, and AI, something that, we are all kind of experiencing around us. You can't miss that. So those are the categories. And I want to touch upon something that Heather said earlier. That's teamwork. I want to pick on that a little bit. Engineering is rarely a solo act. From startups to multinational corporations, teamwork is the norm, and learning to collaborate effectively is essential in any engineering work. And that's something we want to see highlighted in all our entries for the Rising Star Award. So we're looking for clear examples that are about being collaborative and encouraging people to work together, whether it's, designing a next-gen aircraft to life-saving medical device. Rising Star Awards, expect that the winners are great team players.
Heather, you're in corporate, you were at Sikorsky. How is the management team keeping that teamwork, that collaborative environment healthy? Because as you said, it takes a village to lift an aircraft, which means there's a lot of different individuals. How do you keep that teamwork going together?
So there's a big element of the processes and technology that we use in the background in our design process. So having a management group that is always looking to improve on those processes and those collaboration tools, I think is a big element to keeping the teams working together and working together seamlessly. There's as the technology continues to evolve in aircraft, it's also evolving with being able to use like Microsoft Teams and having collaborative spaces. So having management that is open to using these new tools and online environments for us all to work closer together, I think is really important.
Because Chitra, that goes to open ideas. If you're open to building an idea, you can go build something, you can prototype it, and maybe you can build a company out of it. And if you're really lucky, you can go on to change the world. And there's a lot of individuals, as we mentioned earlier, that are building technologies that maybe we haven't heard of them before. How can someone that says, wait a second, I know a really great woman engineer, she'd be really good for this. How can they go about nominating her for this award? Perhaps it's a friend, a colleague, or even a parent.
Absolutely. Well, visit our website at www.techbriefs.com/RSA. Their nomination form, the terms and conditions, and how to enter instructions are all on the website. And as I mentioned earlier, you can also see the Hall of Stars, which features our past winners to get kind of inspired by, what others do. We are welcoming self-nominations. So absolutely, if you want to nominate yourself, you're most welcome. Or if you work alongside a woman engineer who deserves the spotlight, this is your chance to elevate her work by nominating her for any of the 6 categories. The nominations close on July 22nd. So those listening today, you've got to nominate soon.
I'll say it my way. Go for it. Nominate a rock star colleague of yours. This is a really great way to honor the wonderful work that they're doing. Heather, in your opinion, what is the future of engineering?
Oh, that is a huge question. So for the future of engineering, I think we also have to consider the past a little bit. Past generations are what have guided us to where we are today. Like there's the saying, we all stand on the shoulders of giants. The knowledge that we continue to build today, too, will then keep getting passed on to these future generations of engineers to help them solve future problems that we in today's world don't even know exist yet. So the future of engineering is being built right now by what we're doing to help the future generations solve their future problems.
Heather, it's individuals like yourselves and other Rising Star Award recipients that are building that future. Chitra, Heather, as we look to wrap up this insightful conversation, what would you like our listeners to take away with them? Heather, we'll start with you, please.
For me, I would like listeners to definitely think about what they can do today to nurture the future generations of young engineers like me. Thinking to people who are in elementary, middle school, high school, what can we do to get them excited and get them interested in engineering?
Chitra, please.
I'll echo what Heather said earlier too. Like we learn from, our peers, we learn from our, people who've already been in the field for a while. And then we have these young future engineers, rising stars. I think that's the future of engineering. And to close out, I want to say that, women are still underrepresented in engineering, but they're not waiting for the permission to lead. The Rising Star Award celebrates these women who are trailblazers, and they're paving the way for the next generation. And because when we recognize rising stars, we inspire the future ones. So if you know someone who deserves recognition, nominate them today and help us celebrate the future of engineering.
Celebrate the future of engineering. To me, one of the key elements of engineering is that you're always learning. And to the engineers that are listening and the individuals that want to be engineers, I'll summarize it this way: go build the future. And if you know a really great woman engineer, please, I highly recommend you nominate her for the Rising Star Awards. It's a really great way to expose their wonderful work. Today is tomorrow. Tomorrow is today. The future is the Rising Star Awards. Chitra, Heather, thank you so much for coming on SAE Tomorrow Today.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for listening to SAE Tomorrow Today.
SAE International makes no representations as to the accuracy of the information presented in this podcast. The information and opinions are for general information only. SAE International does not endorse, approve, recommend, or certify any information, product, process, service, or organization presented or mentioned in this podcast.